der Livestream der Nurburgring Langstreckenserie. Präsentiert von Falkenreifen.
Well, good morning, race fans, and welcome to the Nurburgring Nordschleife, where we're here for the 61st ADAC Rheinaldus Langstrecken race, and our drivers heading out of pit lane, ready for 4 hours of racing action here on the world's greatest racing circuit. My name is Peter Mackay, and joining me in the commentary box today here on RS3, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels, is Peter Snowden. And Peter, I'm absolutely privileged to be alongside you for really, for me, what is one of the quirkiest but one of the best race circuits and race series anywhere in the world, the Nurburgring Langstrecken series.
Good morning, Peter, and welcome to what is your first NLS, isn't it? So you did the N24 with us, but the quirkiest and best race circuit in the world. I think it's a great description. I'm not sure they'll pick it up as a strapline, but it's, as you said, the Rheinaldus Langstrecken Rennen, or to you and I, the NLS Round 5 double header this weekend, and as if 4 hours of racing today wasn't enough, we've got to do it all again tomorrow for the Grenzlandrennen, 44th running of that tomorrow. So lots and lots of action here on the Nordschleife.
And I couldn't think of a better way to spend a weekend, either on the bankings, watching the cars going around, or listening here on RS3, but also taking part. For a driver, you know, Snowy, you've been in the driver's seat here at the Nürburgring before. I mean, 4-hour race is gonna take it out of the crew, but to have to reset and get going again tomorrow, different dynamic to what the drivers are usually used to.
Yeah, there is a different mentality. I think the weather, as ever, it's Bruce and I, when we normally cover this, we refer to this all the time. It's the great leveler is the weather at the Nordschleife. Obviously, because of the scale of the circuit, we know most of our listeners are fully aware of that, but it's still in awe of it and what the difference can be. The clouds looking a little bit overcast this morning. We're due to start in fair weather. It is dry at the moment, although I understand there is a possibility of precipitation later on, and possibly even more so tomorrow, but we'll cover that bridge when we come to it. But it is a major factor around here, simply because of the topography of the place, the Eiffel Mountains and off through the Nordschleife, and it's a 25-kilometre circuit, and you can be dry one part of the circuit and go over a brow or through a bend, and all of a sudden, oh look, it's a little bit damp, and now it's wet, and then suddenly, 3 kilometres later, it's not. And that's it's so different to any conventional race circuit, and that, of course, is its appeal.
I think that's what draws everyone here from both a competitor and a fan perspective. So at the moment, the drivers all going out of pit lane around the Grand Prix circuit, ready to take their positions on the grid before a full formation lap. And again, that's another unique thing we have here, Snowy, is for a driver, that must be a bit of a dream, actually, to have 25 kilometres. I presume the car must be fully warmed up, tyres up to temperature and brakes ready to go, coming to the green flag, I guess.
Well, you'd hope so. You've got plenty of time, haven't you?
Yes,
no excuses. Exactly. No real excuses. I can hear the pit to car radio now saying, what do you mean it's not warmed up? Or going off at the first corner on cold tyres. Not really that acceptable around here.
No, definitely not. Although I was watching the last NLS, of course, we did see one of the Get Speed Mercedes that got caught out at turn 1. So drivers have already been out for...
Yeah, sorry.
Go on, sorry. Go on.
I think at the time, sorry, I didn't mean to cut across you there, Peter. Sorry, no. We did that Get Speed Mercedes did get turned around from P2 on the grid. It went down to about 30th. We thought initially that it hadn't been tagged, but I think it was. Now, now the number 36 Rover Valkenhorst, the Valkenhorst BMW, just stationary out there on track for a moment, but has seemed to got itself going again. But it's almost like a alt control reset. Moment of slight concern there. Not what you want on the formation lap, Peter.
Well, that was during qualifying this morning, actually.
My apologies, you're quite right. Sorry, highlights.
Yes,
My apologies, yes.
The 36, no problem. 36 Walkenhorst BMW did. It was Sammy Matty Trogan actually got that car back going again and had a really, really strong run in qualifying. We'll go through the grid in a moment, but qualifying was very much affected by a slow zone at Schwalbenschwanz, right at the end of the lap here on the Nurburgring Nordschleife, and it meant that there was a lot of drivers who had to keep going around and having whatever lap they'd built up effectively ruined. But it did finally lift in the very last moments of the session, and we saw a real dash for the cash at the end, and Frank Stippler putting in a rocketing lap to go second quickest. But actually, Snowy, really exciting, we've got the Lamborghini, the Conrad Motorsport Lamborghini on pole position. Cooper Gazmiak putting that on pole, and this is a car which has had so much one lap pace in various hands, but getting it done in the race, this is a big weekend for this team.
Yeah, huge, and we've said this many a time over the NLS that, but we were talking about it off air, weren't we? That it doesn't seem to sort of favour the Italian teams quite as much, and you quite rightly opine that it might be just sort of safety in numbers. It's predominantly German. It is Audi, Mercedes, Porsche, BMW, as you'd expect at the Nurburgring, but. Just looking at our top 10, it is exactly that. It's reverse order, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, etc., Porsche, all the way through until you get to that top car, the pole position car, Di Martina Gamazak in the Conrad Lamborghini with a 7:54.893 to take pole position. Quite extraordinary. They had it was the last race, NLS 4, a couple of weeks ago. They were leading at one point and then had a puncture. Dropped right down the order, and they were fourth on the road, but they were promoted on the slowing down lap because of a penalty, so they did actually get onto the podium. So I think we used the phrase, didn't we, before off air, that we don't like flatter to deceive because it's a bit negative, but it's like to see the Italian cars up at the front. It to be no Ferraris again in the top 10. What a shame.
That is a pity, but good to see the Lamborghini up there as well. And for fans of, and I have to say I am one of them, Axel Jeffries, he will be here tomorrow. He's racing with Klaus Abelin in the Fricadelli LMP3 car in the Michelin Le Mans Cup at Monza. And then I presume they're flying privately, Snowy, because they're flying back overnight and then racing tomorrow. Now, Klaus Abelin, will come on to him in a second, but Axel Jeffries will be in that Conrad Lamborghini tomorrow, taking a duo to a trio. But of course, Fricadelli Racing, based in Barweiler, very close to the circuit, very much a Nurburgring team. And Klaus Abelin, he's my father's age, and he's planning on doing the 4-hour race on his own tomorrow. I don't know where he gets the energy.
Well, obviously, clearly from somewhere, but as you said, that's the point. Not just waiting to take part tomorrow, as in not bothering today, going and doing a race somewhere else, and then flying across and doing it again. That is commitment. That's the way to do it as well.
That's a true racer spirit. Yeah, I do love it. And of course, LMP3 prototype. He'll have a sore neck when he comes home tonight. I am sure. So we're going to have a great multi, as always, as we do here on the Nurburgring Nordschleife. We're going to have a great multi-manufacturer battle with the Italian Lamborghini in there as well. But very evenly matched now between the Audi, the Porsche, and the Mercedes. But a little bit of news on balance of performance update. We've seen the BMW M6, probably the car that's been adjusted both up and down most over the last little while, certainly since the 24-hour race. But the BMW M6 has a turbo boost reduction after the last race, which of course was won by the brilliant BMW Junior team.
It was an extraordinary effort, and not detracting from anybody else in that team, but Dan Harper, hugely impressive, certainly from the point of view of under pressure from a very, very experienced Frank Stippler, who so it kind of had him on the ropes for a lot of the race and was just trying every bit of tactic just to try and unsettle him in it, and he just did not falter, which is hugely impressive. And I think I did mention it to Bruce actually on air during that race that when I did my first race here, which was a 24-hour, I went in at the deep end. Go large or go home. Don't go in there, do 24 hours, learn the place. And I commented at the time that they were Dan Harper wasn't even born, and I think the average age of the BMW Junior team is 19.4 years or something. I know the clue is in the word junior, but it's still quite humbling when you see that.
It is, and isn't it encouraging as well that BMW as a manufacturer, you know what, they could have a pretty strong pick of drivers of who they'd like to have in their cars, but I think it's a wonderful initiative that they put all their young guns in together. Of course, they had the help of Augusto Farfus in the 24-hour race, but I think it's absolutely fantastic the effort that BMW are putting in to give young drivers a chance to race professionally at the top level. And my goodness me, have they've really restored that faith. They've paid back that faith already.
They certainly have. And we saw it a little bit earlier in the year. I think it was Dan Harper again, actually. That or was it Ben Tuckham that went into? It was Ben that went into one of the M2 competition BMW run cars, just again to get data, get experience, and took it on the chin. Off he goes. He's a factory driver, and that's what he went and did. And next thing you know, he's back in the M6. And of course, we're awaiting the debut of the new M4, which should have been at the last round. Unfortunately, didn't happen because it was damaged in free practice, wasn't it, on the Friday, with a still undisclosed technical error that caused the car to leave the track. I'm sure we'll find out more about that at some point when appropriate.
Yeah, well, hopefully I think wouldn't it be nice if that car could be launched at the next NLS race in September, or I think it may be two races ahead in September, when of course the Sabine Schmitz curve is officially inaugurated. That corner, just the double left-hander going onto the Nordschleife proper, and of course Sabine, of course, who we sadly lost back in March, and there was some wonderful tributes for her at the 24-hour race. But that would be quite nice. What a nice event to launch the new BMW race car when that corner is officially installed in a few months' time.
Yeah, and what an apt corner of all the 170 odd corners you're going to go and pick a name for. But the very beginning of the Nordschleife, where you go from the current Grand Prix circuit, and suddenly you don't go right and go back towards the pits and start again. You swing left on that huge hairpin round, and a real pinch point on the circuit there as well, Peter. We've seen it many a time where they get to the end of this Grand Prix loop, this modern, luxurious Grand Prix loop with lots of runoff area and gravel traps, and all of a sudden it just a hairpin pinch point with no runoff area, just barriers literally just atwixt your door handle. And all of a sudden you're onto the Nordschleife, the fabled Nordschleife and the Hatzenbach. So a great corner to name after Sabine Schmitz, a lady that won the 24-hour not once but twice, and indeed the following year was a full VLN champion. So her credentials are, I think the phrase is incontestable.
I would totally agree. And of course, in the very early days of Frickadelli racing, getting on the overall podium when it went to full GT, we went much more to a GT race than glorified touring cars. It when, of course, her with her husband Klaus came to race every year in the Frickadelli Porsche, and it's brilliant to see the team carry on, because for Klaus Abelin to lose Sabine, it's you kind of worry, would the team then carry on? But it's brilliant to see those Frickadelli cars. In fact, if anything, they've stamped on the gas harder. And the 24-hour race didn't go their way, but it's actually going to be strange not having them in the race today at least until tomorrow.
Yeah, but I think that's how Sabine would have wanted it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Get on with it. She was a racer through and through. That's exactly why she and her husband set up Frickadelli, and it's so successful. There's reasons for that. It didn't happen by accident, and I'm sure she'd have. It's in the spirit of what is it? I noticed that they also still, I'm sure we'll see it tomorrow, they carry her name on the car. Roof still adorns the roof of the car to this day.
Brilliant. A wonderful, wonderful tribute indeed. Well, we certainly there's a huge variety of machinery on show here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife. And now I know that I'm sure I haven't had the chance to look at the online stream comments yet, Snowy, but I could guarantee that there'll be some questions about the Foxtail Manta and the Dacia Logan. And I've got good news on both fronts. Both of those cars are in the race today.
They're back. Wonderful. That's what we need.
Of course, the Dacia Logan, which did finish the 24-hour race, and what I loved was as well that the car, when Kevin Estre came over the line to win the Nurburgring 24-hour, or the 9.5 hour as it became, the little Dacia is sort of photobombing in the foreground, making sure it gets in the press shots.
Absolutely. That's yeah. Unfortunately, gave himself. I think it was time we did another lap to go, didn't we? And we thought if it just slowed down and just let them took the devil there, we've got it right in front of us. It was it wouldn't have had to do a whole another lap, but of course, in terms of getting the great media and photo opportunity, then had to do another lap round as well.
Hope they had enough fuel on board the little Dacia. Watching some of the onboard
it probably
footage,
uses a bit less than some other cars. I suggest it's a bit more frugal than some of the SB9 cars. Just a thought.
just a bit, yeah. Speaking of the SB9 cars, the full GT3 spec, when you do watch the onboards of the Dacia, it is terrifying how fast the GT3s go by. I mean, genuinely, you're watching it almost looking through your fingers.
Nah, it's normal. It's all fun. It's racing. It's quite natural. What's wrong with you, man?
This is the difference between you and I, Snowy. I just talk about it. You do it.
No, you have a brain. That's the difference. Yes.
More imagination, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The Conrad Racing Lamborghini pulls up to the spot, and Mr. Conrad himself, Franz Conrad,
as ever,
getting his hands dirty,
as he always does. He's always involved. He's always there, isn't he? Omnipresent.
And of course, in the last race, he had his Allen key out. I didn't actually realise an Allen key was what you could use for a Lamborghini GT3. I thought there'd be a special tool required, but no, pocket Allen key does the job.
I think it was subterfuge. I think it was done for the camera. Look, our car is so basic. We use an Allen key, yes. And it was almost as if you sort of played to the camera with it, wasn't it? If you saw that little bit of VT, it was like almost look, we can do this, because it wasn't quite clear what he was adjusting either. So I'm perhaps being a little bit Machiavellian there. I don't know.
This is like our dear colleague Joe Bradley, who used to be in the police force. He said, as long as you're standing there with a clipboard, doesn't have to be anything on the clipboard, you'll get on the telly.
Yeah, and you've just defined Joe so well. Joe covering Warden Law karting this weekend, a big event for them with one of our colleagues as well, Nick Damon. It's a busy old weekend for RSL commentators and the crew, isn't it?
It is, yeah, absolutely. It's wonderful. We've got racing going on, and this is one of the we have such a long winter, and then waiting for racing to begin, especially this year. But now we've got racing coming out of our ears, all different categories, all the time, and how exciting! The moment on the front row of the grid, we have the number 5 Phoenix Audi. Qualified on second on the grid by Frank Stippler, one of the most experienced drivers in the field and really of all time, actually, on the Nurburgring Nordschleife. But his teammate Vincent Kolb actually leading the SP9 Pro Championship here in the Nurburgring Langstrecken Series at the moment. And Vincent actually is not a full-time racing driver. In fact, his day job is he's an investment banker. I'll use the right term. He works for a private equity firm and drives a classic 911. So I wouldn't mind a bit of that lifestyle.
You know what to do then. We can go. Yeah. We can help you with that. That's not a problem.
Yeah, well, driving the classic 911, I think that'd be easy. I wouldn't have a clue what I'm doing in a private equity. I think that would lose a lot of people a lot of money, I think. But does a bit of classic racing as well, does Vincent. He's races a classic Shelby Cobra.
That's a proper car, you see. Big front engine V8. There you go. Can't argue with that. What a man.
Yeah, of course, the Kolb family very, very much present here in the Nurburgring Langstrecken series, and spread out across the whole field. So we'll have, as always here in the Nurburgring Langstrecken series, we have 3 groups of cars which will be released in parts, and will go into the 4-hour race. So they're spread out a little bit, but of course, Snowy, with the pace of these SP9 cars, it's not long before those top guys are hitting the back of the field and having to make their way through traffic. And looking back to the last round, that was really the secret, I think, to Dan Harper getting the win for the BMW Junior team, because, as you mentioned, he read the traffic so well.
Yeah, that was what really shone out in his drive, the maturity of somebody, just barely 20, 21, whatever he is. It was quite incredible the way he dealt with that, and it saved pressure from no less than Frank Stippler, as you said. Very, very experienced, and if somebody knows how to play the game, you could see it was an interesting role play between the pair of them, actually, in as much as Frank Stippler There were no lunges, no pushing for gaps, no ever. He was just pushing in different parts and eyeing them, basically doing the classic old phrase, filling his mirrors to put him off, to see if he could make a mistake. So it was more a psychological game of, can I put him off? Can I see what he does? And what was interesting was the response from Dan Harper, with one exception, and that was really a back marker that did, in fairness, sort of go one way, then redecide and go the other way, and he had to be committed and stayed with it, which again said an awful lot about the maturity of Dan Harper. It did put two wheels of that BMW on the grass, and my heart rate went up at the time, as I'm sure everybody did that was watching him, but he kept his foot in and got it sorted and just dealt with it. And that's the point. He didn't sort of go, oh, what do I do here, panic. He just dealt with it, even though Stifler was right behind him, and he just read the traffic, and some of it was absolutely amazing to watch him just reading it ahead and backing Stifler up rather than going for a gap, and showed immense maturity from such a young man. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of him in the future.
I think we will. I think BMW have got to be very, very happy. And of course, one thing we should mention as well, they were the youngest ever team to win in the NLS, and I'd be amazed if that record is broken in the near future, because they're just exceptional.
It's galling, isn't it?
Amazing, absolutely amazing, and great for. I'll reiterate it again. Brilliant that BMW are backing these young men to do their thing. And
even you're older, Peter.
Oh, miles older, way older.
Not much.
But I had to say, I did leap full scale off the sofa when Dan Harper went through. It was at Galgenkopf, which, for those who are maybe not as familiar with the circuit, that's the really, really fast right-hander onto the Dottinger Ho. And, full, yeah. Do you know what? He probably didn't even break a sweat, though. I know I did.
I suspect there was a little bit of Anglo-Saxon rhetoric in the car to himself, let's just say.
Yes. Oh, bother. Yeah.
Yes. Oops. Yes. Yeah, two wheels on the grass. The fact was, it actually, when it went on the grass, that wasn't the issue. It was coming back onto the track. Difference in grip one side to the other. Natural. It's just law of physics. But it did have a twitch where I just thought, that could have so easily gone the wrong way. But it didn't. And that's the point. He controlled it, dealt with it, and it was ultra calm. And as I said, you can't even say it was a mistake. It was, if anything, it was an accolade to him that he was kind of put in a position unwittingly by the back marker. It's not a problem. It's just one of those things that does happen. You can try and stay out of the way, but he second guessed and changed his mind, and it wasn't a jump out of the way. It was just, there's an M6 BMW behind, and then happens to be the leader. And Dan Harper just got on with it. I bet Frank Stifler was thinking, this is it. This is my moment. Oh. He's dealt with that as well.
Oh,
What do I do? What else do I have in the box to do? What's left to get this guy not off the track, but to get ahead?
You must think for Frank Stifler, of course, such a experienced driver, he's thinking, what do I have to do to unseat these young whippersnappers who come to challenge my throne? Well, we've been in perfect, typical Nurburgring efficiency. We've been given the 5-minute board, so the drivers now beginning to get their hands devices and helmets on, get on board the cockpit of their machines, and at 42 minutes past the hour, which is 11:42 local time, 10:42 in the UK, the drivers of Group 1 will pull off for their formation lap, a full formation lap around the Nurburgring Nordschleife as well. Max Hesse putting on his protective gloves and getting ready for the start as well. And Snowy, what's this like for a driver? There's a lot of preparation involved. There's so much that goes into getting on the grid at any level of motorsport. What's this moment like when you're putting your helmet on?
Hopefully remarkably calm. That's bit all the work's done, really. It's time to get on and do the job in hand. And sometimes in some ways it's peace and quiet, because there is an awful lot that goes on behind the scenes from a team point of view. The driver is the bit that we focus on naturally, and they get all the sort of the attention, the coverage and whatever. But it's a huge team effort, obviously, in prepping the car. And you are, they always say that the driver is the most easily changed component on a racing car. The sort of loosen up behind the wheel kind of thing. And it's this is where it all comes to fruition, and you sit there and it's everybody disappears off the grid, and you can just get on with it and concentrate on what you're doing. And the big thing you say there is not to go and mess it up on the formation lap. You mentioned groups there, Peter. Of course, we've got these three groups, and you were just talking a few minutes ago about the free run that they get before they catch traffic. This first group, it is because of the scale of the circuit. I think Bruce and I worked it out last time. It's approximately one lap. Would you believe that's about all they get? Where it's they're free and they're just basically SP9 cars having a battle. It's that opening lap, and towards the end of it, because of the way the three batches are set and the delays between them, by the time the pace difference, obviously, it's virtually end of lap 1, beginning of lap 2, when this category catches up with the third batch. So they're immediately into traffic. So they get one lap roughly, and then 3 odd hours rest of it sort of dealing with traffic. And that's the speed differentials. That's where it really comes into play.
So if there's anyone with ambitions of breaking the lap record, they've got to get it done on the first flyer, effectively.
Yeah, but they all go and break the rule book. Being racing drivers, they never follow the rules, and they do it at the end instead.
Yeah, that would be the working theory to see that. Well, in qualifying so far, the fastest time we've seen in qualifying this season in the NLS was the last time out, NLS 4, 7 minutes and 52.3 seconds. With the number 24 Audi actually qualifying on pole, which I think, forgive me if I'm wrong, Snowy, Patrick Niederhauser setting that?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a 7:53 for the Conrad today, isn't it? So it's only a second.
A touch off.
Yeah,
just a touch off. And really, actually, the Conrad car, the Lamborghini on pole position, and the number 5 Phoenix Audi in second, very much in their own bracket. However, they got their lap times in early, I think definitely before the Schwalbenschwanz code 60. But actually, one lap that really impressed me was Adam Christodoulou in the HRT Mercedes, the number 6 car, and had a number of laps thwarted by the slow zone. But when it went off, he had one lap and put it all on the line and got that car onto the second row of the grid. So watch for that yellow and blue Bilstein car if you're watching on the stream.
Well, Adam Christodoulou, man that always impresses, and I think that Mercedes fits him like a glove. He's just got so used to it, and you just say thwarted laps, but he's another one of those, like the Stiflers of the world, vastly experienced. He'll stay calm. He's been here, done it before, but he'll just come through and he'll wait, and all of a sudden he'll just pounce and puts a time in or pulls a manoeuvre where you just go, what? That must have come from his boots. Where did that come from?
It must be the streamlining of his immaculate grooming on top.
I couldn't possibly comment. Car's moving away, indeed. So our pace car is moving, Peter. We've got our formation lap underway at 11:42.
Oh, right, a perfect efficiency as always here at the Nurburgring as well. So the driver's now pulling away. In the SP10 class, Snowy one, I was taking a close look at the at that one. That's the FIA GT4 regulation class, and we've got an Alpine A110 in that class, which I'm sure we will speak a lot about because I think it's a beautiful little car. But interestingly, the Schnitzelalm Mercedes absolutely dominant in qualifying, about 10 seconds quicker than the nearest car. So that Mercedes GT4, the Schnitzelalm Racing GmbH car, absolutely flying in qualifying. In fact, the AMG GT4 is very much ahead of the game. Despite actually looking at the BOP, definitely the heaviest cars in the field as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting one there. They're getting a lot of pace out of that machine.
Indeed. So some of the cars with some of the SP9 cars with their lights ablaze. The Mr. Adam Christodoulou not bothering that. Most have got the lights on already. I hope that's not a sign of where the weather is going already. Just what we need at the start of this race, but a little way to go yet. Out onto our formation lap as they head up through the Vidal chicane and up towards the prediction onto that fabled Nordschleife, we said, and down through the Hats and back. And it's something, Peter, that we comment on, Bruce and I, regularly on this, and I know you know exactly the same. Of it's hard to convey the difference. We've got a full compliant FIA spec Grand Prix circuit here. In fact, they had a German Grand Prix here last year, and it's what that means is, of course, that it's got massive runoff areas and gravel traps, etc., etc. And then you have this complete opposite of the Nordschleife. 90% of this lap is that, and it's narrow. Some bits where there is no runoff area. Never mind some or a strip of grass. There's none. Part of it being that slow bit, or relatively slow, where they join the Nordschleife, the Sabine Schmitz curve as it is now, and then they go off down through Hats and back, and you can't convey easily just how fast and roller coaster it is, and they're blatting down there, and you've then got the speed differentials of cars as well, and you say we get this first lap clear, and then all of a sudden you're in the thick of traffic, and you've got all the different categories and speed differentials.
And that's where the experience comes in. If you're a Frank Stippler or an Adam Christodoulou, where you've got a real supreme advantage over those. So we'll just start off our first group. We're heading down the Hansback at the moment, so still a leg of water.
Zwei Familien. 40 Jahre Firmengeschichte. Unsere Produkte entstehen zu 100% in Deutschland. Mit Herzblut und Hingabe. Wir schaffen den Technologietransfer von der Rennstrecke auf die Straße. Handwerkskunst, Erfahrung für diesen einen Moment. Das ist die Nurburgring Langstreckenserie. Das ist H&R. Performance made in Germany.
Sicher ans Ziel. Auf allen Straßen, bei jedem Wetter. Mit den zuverlässigen Sommerreifen von Falken. Jetzt Falkenreifen kaufen und Tankgutschein sichern. Weitere Informationen auf tankgutschein.falkenreifen.de. Falkenreifen.
So it is about time for... So we are about ready to go racing here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife. The next groups are making their way onto the circuit now. Some of the lower class cars, the Porsche Caymans, BMWs, and also some of the alternatively fueled class cars, including a Ford Mustang, an alternatively fueled Ford Mustang, very much the spirit of the Nordschleife, and of course the Foxtail Opel Manta as well, which with, of course, its mandatory foxtail flapping away on the top of the roof of that car. And I was reading a bit up about it this week, Snowy. It's actually an ex-rally car, that machine.
Well, it certainly had a life, hasn't it? And it is a fan favourite, the Opel Manta 400. Going back, what year is it? In fact, just going past us right now, as it sees with its its foxtail on the aerial, very distinctive red. It's almost like sort of Bastos BMW colours at a distance, isn't it? Which is probably very unfair to it, but that's just caught my eye. I just thought, oh, looks like a Bastos 6 Series Alpina BMW from its day. But there's me showing my age. I've seen photographs.
Well, it does have bits and pieces from other manufacturers. There's a Porsche wing. The rear wing is a Porsche rear wing, and I believe some of the front bodywork is from a BMW. So there's something there, Snowy. Very lightweight, 930 kilos, that Opel Manta, with 255 horsepower on tap. Was converted from a rally car in 1990.
Not enough power.
It's according to weight, Snowy. Goodness.
No, it's not. That's a
racing driver.
That's not. Well, you always need power, much more power. That's just a rule. And 255 brake to just under 1,000 kilos. That's nothing.
Okay, thank you, Mark Donahue. But it's been racing here on the Nordschleife since 1994. That they call it life in components. That's getting your money's worth. That's like your discovery.
I can see why it appeals to you. just doing the stereotyping again. No,
you're going to be mean to me all day.
Not at all. Not at all. It was the pre-show conversation we had, wasn't it? No, it's great to see it out there. It is a fan favourite. It's one of those daft things that we always want to see it, and when we don't, we actually miss it, and it becomes a bit of a highlight that it gets missed. But so we're not terribly far off race start now, Peter. I'm gonna put it back to you now. What are your thoughts for outcome? Give me the podium. What do you think is going to be the podium?
The podium. Oh well. Like I said, I've got a strong feeling about the number 4 Falcon Tire Porsche of Dennis Olsen, Tobias Muller. I think the BMW Junior boys, they're going to be an ever-present threat. I think they're going to be on there, and the Phoenix Audi as well. I think Vincent Kolb leading the championship with sharing the driving with Frank Stippler, and it's going to be right there. But I think you can guarantee that I've probably just jinxed all 3 of those cars now. Sorry about that.
The curse of the commentator. It's alive and well. Yes, indeed. A couple of cars starting from the pit lane. One, interestingly, up on its jack still, which does surprise me. I can't see what number. I can indeed. It's number 75. That is up on its jacks. That is, when I can find it. Oh, great. I've got a 76 and a 78, not a 75. We'll come back to that in a minute. But also there was one of the BMWs there. We've got a GT4 Cayman at the end of the pit lane that hasn't sold. So 3 cars starting from the pit lane. One got to the end there. One of the Porsches is sitting at the end of the pit lane and not gone out onto the track at the moment, but with its door open, not quite sure whether it's going to join straight away or not. So leading batch, Peter, are approaching the logo, as I call it, of the Nurburgring Langstrecken series, the NLS, the Kratzschilder Carousel. One of the we've got the rover live helicopter shot looking down over the Eiffel Mountains woods, and it's an absolutely great shot of that part of the circuit. And the carousel, we were talking about it in the last race, NLS 4, that not only is it in excess of 180-degree hairpin, but it is banked as well, and you drop into it, sort of almost like the old 1930s sort of concrete. That's what it looks like. I'm sure it's not that old, but the issue with that is that when you get to the end of it, it pops out and the car goes level again, and it's a real moment. You've got to catch it, and it can catch drivers out, and we've seen it in the past. In fact, I think we had one of the Porsches in N24 went off there, didn't it?
Yes, there was. I do recall that, and you can. It's very clear to see how the suspension manufacturers and the tyre manufacturers use the circuit, both in competition and also in road car testing as well, to make the most of their componentry. I mean, Falcon Tyre, the number 4, and Falcon obviously they've got two, in fact, number 3 and number 4, 2 cars in the field today with their Porsche 911s. They used to have 2 different cars, a BMW and a Porsche, but 2 Porsches now for Falcon, and what a great way to develop tyres for both race and the roads. Yes, the carousel, of course, I think is definitely the most recognisable part of the circuit, named after Rudolf Caracciola, who won the first ever race here at the Nordschleife in a compressor Mercedes on the 19th of June 1927. Only had to change his Continental tyres once, and still managed an average speed of 96.5 kilometres an hour in 1927. He must have had. He must have been pretty hairy chested, I think.
Yeah. Yes, upper body strength.
Yes.
I was just thinking that when you read that stat out, thinking average speed, was it 90? What was it, Peter?
1927.
Yes, no, the speed, what average speed of
96.5 k's, so above 60 mile an hour average across the whole race.
Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Back in those days, it's that's just incredible. Quite extraordinary. So, well, we're not far off the start.
No. It's that anticipation, that trepidation you can sense now from the drivers who are weaving the car back and forward, trying to generate that vital tyre and indeed brake temperature as well. Of course, the coming down into turn 1 on the Grand Prix circuit, it's a tricky braking zone and a heavy braking zone at that, Snowy.
Well, it is, and the 3 things that no driver wants there, or no team wants in their driver, is cold tyres, cold brakes, and a cold brain. So you've got to get that all sorted on that formation lap, and that's what you do. You've got to get yourself into that zone, the car, and manage it and get ready for that first bit. And there is still no better opportunity to make places than certainly the first lap. And we've seen this time and time again, and we will see it very shortly. I am sure it will live up to my brief of into that first the GP circuit, that first lap, the opportunities. You'll see people moving all over the places using bits of tarmac you didn't think existed. Sabine Schmitz was an absolute genius at that, and a poet of a driver, just finding bits of tarmac that, yeah, it's the same piece for everybody else, but she in particular could find it. And there's that famous bit of footage of her coming through the field, albeit in a greater class car to start with, that's why she makes up so many places initially. But it's where the opportunities are, and that's what the drivers are looking for. And you think it's a 4-hour race, nice and steady, takes time. No, that all goes out the window. It's the first corner, get on with it. And you say it's a fast run past the pits. They're doing a fair old, they're doing 120 miles an hour, whatever, down to that first corner. And then all of a sudden you've got to stop, and it's really tight, and it's an absolute pinch point. And then they just go nuts on that first bit of lap on the Grand Prix circuit, get out onto the Nordschleife, and that's where the fun really begins, and they start to pick up some speed.
Snowy, the thing is, we talk a lot about how the GP circuit is very much almost like a relaxation zone compared to in comparative terms, but for me it opens up quite a good opportunity, because there are sections of the Nordschleife where you can maybe get a pass done. At the end of the Dottinger Ho into the Tiergarten would be one. But actually on the GP circuit, if you're desperate to get past somebody, that's your best opportunity in my book. What do you think? Yeah,
it is, and certainly this first lap it is. But there are more places to pass on the Nordschleife than you think. You'd be surprised, but that is certainly the first opportunity. We got back into our Rover helicopter once again. We have the Dottinger Ho cars weaving, lovely classic long shot of the SP9 category cars, the top, the GT3 cars, and just doing exactly what you said, Peter, just weaving almost from side to side of the track. I don't just mean a little bit, but putting a lot of heat into the brakes there, and sort of acceleration, braking. There's 3 going in unison. It's almost like synchronized swimming, and you just hope they get it all right, because there's almost tag one another here if they're not careful. I'm just trying to place the car. It almost looks like I will check on the number before I quote what I think it is.
The Helipagid Ferrari.
That's what I was thinking. That was the car. That's just what I was going to say. Yeah.
Got one of I think the Huber Porsche right behind.
That's exactly what I was just spotting.
A bit close for comfort, I would say.
Yes.
Anyway,
it piqued my interest. Let's put it that way. I was thinking, that could be embarrassing on the on the formation lap. It was embarrassing at any point, but certainly on the formation lap.
Indeed, I saw that happen at a Scottish Legends race a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, embarrassing. It would be maybe the best way. So we're about to go racing here for the 61st ADAC Rheinaldus Langstrecken here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife. 4 hours of racing about to begin here on RS3, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. The Porsche 911 pace car will pull away, and the number 7 Conrad Lamborghini will lead us into this race with the Phoenix Audi right along beside.
Or will it?
Or will it?
Well, Frank Stipper's got other ideas. Could you get any closer to the door of that Conrad Lamborghini? The Lamborghini holding them all back there, and really holding them back. And the Falcon Porsche's down the outside. We've changed position already, and we've got the Mercedes into second place already. The Lamborghini is sticking down the inside, Peter, but it's those two Porsches that you had an eye on. So good spot there. Turn 1, here it all goes. The Lamborghini running deep, and that's going to allow the BMW almost up onto the outside. Nearly going around the long way. That's got the BMW into second place already, Peter. So as we predicted, tons of action. We're only at turn 2 on lap 1 of 4 hours.
Yeah, quite a messy start here at the Nurburgring, I have to say. A real mix-up of the order already as we come on to the Grand Prix circuit. So Conrad Lamborghini, our pole sitter, leading away safely. The BMW Junior team of Max Hesse, number 44, into second position with the one of the Falcon Porsches behind, number 4 Falcon Porsche, the 3 car just a couple of spots behind. We'll get a note on starting drivers in a minute when we get over the timing beams. But dearie me, that was a little bit messy in my books. Noy, what do you think?
Well, it did appear, and I don't like to speculate, but it did appear that the Conrad Lamborghini held them back a bit longer than I was expecting. I thought he'd go a bit earlier. They normally pick up a bit of pace after the Tiergarten, not full pace, then they suddenly surge through to the lights, like a phase 2 of it. That didn't seem to happen, and the guys behind, certainly in the Falcon Porsches, they weren't having any of that, and suddenly the fan, it spread out and they fanned around, and Adam Christodoulou actually got up into second place going into turn 1, but then dropped down the order again as it all had to sort of make space for one another. So everybody was polite, no incidents, like we had the Get Speed Mercedes rotating 180 degrees at the first corner of the last race. None of that on this occasion, so it's all clean and free, but it is the Lamborghini making a slight break for it at the moment, sort of 3, 4, 5 potentially car lengths back. Yeah, I would say it is 5 or 6 car lengths now pulling away as he's off down the bit where there is absolutely no runoff whatsoever, so not a place to get it wrong now. You don't want to get it wrong anywhere on the Nordschleife really. You said about being a really fast corner. There's not many slow corners on the Nordschleife, to be honest. Second batch about to go, Peter. KTM's at the front of that.
Indeed, yeah, 2 beautifully painted KTM crossbows, number 930 and number 921, about to take us away into Group 2. And a little bit tidier getaway, the 2 KTMs gassing up those machines. Real space tech machines, those Austrian-built cars. And over they go with lights already flashing, and goodness me, this is a potpourri of horsepower trying to get their position on track, and this is typical Nurburgring Nordschleife. Well, we're not even onto the Nordschleife yet, and the drivers trying to find their position on track, and I have to say, brilliant respect from the drivers to make their whoop. Nearly jinxed it, one of the Hyundai's having a bit of a spin there at the back, but just about, drivers getting through clean, and I've never seen so many Porsche Caymans in one place.
Well, I keep Porsche very happy. That's keeping the Porsche Cayman sales up. But yeah, there was a little bit of something going on in the background there. I think it was just maybe a tiny bit of contact a bit further down this second batch. And of course, we've got a third batch to go yet, whilst the SB9 category, the first group, are off and sort of probably a third to halfway round this lap already. We've still got a third batch to go. As you say, KTM's there, one a bit further down the field. Somebody on the grass there doing a little bit of mowing for us out on the left-hand side, just coming, I think it's going to the Vido. But all back into the right place and back onto the grey stuff, which is important. Certainly on the opening lap of a 4-hour race, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, you don't want to be taking too many chances at this stage. 3 hours and 56 minutes to go. Now, our timing screen briefly showing up a yellow flag at Wipperman and Esbach. I actually don't think the leaders are there yet, but it's gone back to clear again at Marshall Post 159, so that's good. It's quite a strange one, Snowy. Maybe just a glitch on the timing screen, possibly, but hopefully nothing sinister going on there.
No, I'm sure it was. It does tend to sort of settle down after the first lap.
So the string of Porsche Caymans leading their way down the Hatzenbach as well. And the Porsche Cayman GT4 very close to the actual road car, only about 100 kilograms lighter than the road car it's based upon, but built with proper carbon composite panels as well. Natural fibre composite. Is Group 3 about to get going? And off they go. So all the cars now over the green flag here for the 61st ADAC Rheinoldes Langstrecken. And great to see something we didn't see in the N24, Snowy. There's some Renault Clios in the field.
Do you drive a Renault Clio, mate?
I do. I've got an RS200
how did
just
I
like
guess?
that. Yes.
Quelle surprise.
Car. Oh, dear, a little bit of argy-bargy going into that perilously. I don't think there's many
That's
more.
not argy-bargy.
A little bit of argy-bargy.
Rubbing's racing.
It's talk about a tricky first corner, though. I mean, huge braking zone right down the first gear. I mean, that can't be easy, Snowy, to get going in that opening corner.
No, but the leading Porsche in that batch 3 is certainly taking advantage over the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 BMW. Then we get into some of the Caymans, but he's managed to make a really good break for it there. So, yes, a group of Caymans across the line. I think it was Heitzmeier actually in that. I think that was the 263 that's got away there. Great one. That's the GTS, the Cayman GTS. Very clean, very tidy. 3 very different batch starts there, I noted, Peter. That the first batch, you say, kind of almost held back a little bit longer than I would expect normal. Nothing wrong, just a little bit more than normal. And they say they all fanned out behind him, sort of rows 2, 3, and 4, all fanned out around. Then they got it, but the Conrad Lamborghini still managed to get away into the lead. The second batch were a little bit sort of almost kind of halfway house, a little bit hesitant, then got going. And the third batch just went for it, didn't they? Just flat out, gone, that's it. They can see the straight, we're off. Coming ready or not, here we go.
And of course, most of the cars in that third batch, certainly on the slower end of the scale that we have here with our number of 140 cars on the entry list for this event, a couple of drop-offs before the start, but of course the cars in the third group, they've got they don't have the instant poke that the GT3 machines do. No,
but it's all relative. They're all peer group, peer pressure. They all drive accordingly, and it's as we said earlier. I think it was I think about Dan Harper driving in the BMW Junior team, junior category as well in the M2. It's you think I'm an M6 GT3 driver, SP9 class, but you get put into a lesser category car. It's all relevant and it's all good experience, and he'll have learned a great deal from that. And there's they don't forget the championship, as we say many a time, Peter. The championship is actually won by this category. So our leaders coming into sight at the end of the first lap for the first time down the Dottinger Herd. It's still the Conrad Lamborghini in those iconic colours. I still think of it as a Vitaphone Maserati MC12 colours. That shows my age, doesn't it? Yes, but it's still that sort of iconic colours of Conrad Motorsport. That turquoise and black setup. One of the Audis there just going around the outside of Dottinger Herd. I think that was one of the Phoenix cars, the second Phoenix car. Obviously, Frank Stepper up there in third place at the moment still, I think. Am I right? Yes, I think it is. Go back to cross the line. I think it's could be fourth. Yeah.
We'll get the first flying laps.
So Tisley, Conrad Lamborghini takes the line first. Gumaziak driving around. Hesse it is that's in second place in the BMW Junior M6. Piccarello in the Falcon Motorsports. You were absolutely right, Peter, to mention that car, the Piccarello car, in third place already. Assenheimer it is in the Hout Racing Mercedes in third place, and Stipper, I said third, you said fourth, it's actually fifth for the Frank Stipper at number 5 Phoenix Racing Audi. So we've got to keep an eye on that one. I'm surprised that's dropped out there. It was a bit of a messy first corner, I think, was afraid to use quite rightly there, Peter.
Yeah, I think that the one thing that I think, yes, didn't work out exactly how I'm sure Frank Stippler would have liked, but the thing about Frank Stippler is that this is not his first rodeo, to say the least, and I think he's maybe thinking I think he's maybe thinking, okay, if you guys want to take that much risk in the first couple of corners, that's fine. I'll just work up to this. And I think now that we're into a bit of clean air now and everything's settled down, we'll see Stifler really get going into a nice pace in that Audi. And by far the leading Audi as well in SP9 Pro. In SP9 Pro Am, leading at the moment is Patrick Kolb. So we've got Vincent Kolb in the SP9 Pro car and Patrick Kolb in the leading number 24 Lion Speed by Car Collection Audi, and his teammate Lorenzo Rocco. They both lead the SP9 Pro Am class at the moment in the championship.
You missed off the vital bit of the Toro Padula.
Is it a double barreled, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all there.
Oh,
Lorenzo
okay.
Rocco de Toro Padula. He's our man that led this round 4 a couple of weeks ago.
So I'll tee it up with the Rocco and you do the second part.
They're proper teamwork. And look, teamwork makes the dream work and all that. So 8:06 was the first, it's the best lap of the race, funnily enough, for the leading car. But the point of me mentioning that is that at 7:53 was qualifying time, and we've just seen a little bit of a slow-mo footage there of the Conrad Lamborghini coming up through Tiergarten, and all four, is it Tiergarten? All 4 wheels in the air. On the opening lap. I suppose it saves on tyre wear. That's one way of looking at it. And the junior BMW behind you is exactly the same. Hesse doing exactly the same. Just grabbing that little bit of air. Yes, indeed they are. Cool.
I think that might be Flant's
I was thinking, I think it probably is, yes. I'll just mentally correct myself when I said that.
For our radio listeners, well worth, if you've got access to a mobile phone or something to get a quick look, there is a brilliant slow motion camera set up for us here at Plantsgarten, which is sponsored by Bilstein Suspension. And talk about perfect placement for sponsorship, Snowy, because that's where, regardless of what brand of suspension you choose, it's being put to full use at that point.
Well, absolutely, goes airborne, goes into full droop, and then lands onto full compression. So it's a good way. It's a good damper test, isn't it? There.
Indeed. Well, I'm glad to see I've got allies in the Renault Clio Owners Club against you, Snowy. Our lovely producer Kerry is a fellow Renault Clio owner, so you're outnumbered, my friend. So, 3 hours and 48 minutes to go here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife, and something we haven't seen at the top of competition for, goodness, 15 years. An M3. Now, I think it's an M3 GTR that won here in 2004, racing in some of the lower classes.
It's hard to believe that, isn't it? 2004 in racing terms, and in life it's not that long ago. Well, I suppose it is actually 16, 17 years, isn't it? But in racing terms, that's just an old car now. But great to see it out there.
It is, and I tell you what, my favourite Nurburgring onboard commentated lap is with Hans Stuck. Of course, won the race in an M3 GTR in 2004, and it's an H-pattern gearbox, but with a flat shift. Bizarre. So he's crashing through the gears, and for anyone who's never seen it, Hans Stuck Nurburgring, it'll pop up. It's millions and millions of people have watched it, and goodness, and Hans actually breaks the lap record on the commentated lap as well, just for good measure.
Whilst calmly talking about it, it's
yeah.
Different levels, I think. Different levels, different brains, shall we say?
And there's no one more excitable than Hans Stuck as well. And he even says he's like, 3rd gear, 4th gear, 5th gear. Oh no, there's traffic. Oh, we got past. That's cool. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
Well, that's my bedtime viewing sorted out then.
yeah, it is. It is. So I tell you what, Kuba Girmasiak, I don't know what he's had for his breakfast this morning, but flying, of course, puts the car on pole position and did plenty of laps in the qualifying practice as well, and he's putting in purple sectors galore. At the moment, leading by just under a second from Max Hesse in the BMW Junior team. So despite that little bit of a turbo boost reduction for the M6, doesn't seem to be a problem with the pace, no?
No, certainly. I think it's a probably classic understatement of yours of the second one of the day. I was going to say when you said that Frank Stippler, it isn't his first rodeo. I thought that was a great one. As in, I'm totally with you. As in that, if we're going to go for classic understatements of the day, but I think that's a good one up there as well. Our podium of understatements for the day. Hey, 8:06 you say, but on that first flying lap. So I mean, nearly a second quicker, 0.8 of a second quicker than the BMW. Hesse just behind. That's major. But the purple sectors, you say, purple sectors in sectors 1 and 2 already. We've got 5 sectors on this lap, on our timing stream anyway. There's probably the team's probably a little bit more information on that. But he's setting the times there. But that said, Hess has responded with slightly 10th quicker on sector 3. So not settling into that just yet, and nor should they as well. Top 7 cars being SP9 Pro. It's number 24, the Audi Line Speed by Car Collections, the first of our Pro-Am cars, and the second one of those being that's Kolb driving that, and the Huber Motorsport BMW. So I did that last time. Huber Motorsport Porsche. When you've got a phrase in your head, you keep saying it wrong. It's one of those things, isn't it? No apologies to Huber Motorsport for running their Porsche 911 GT3R with Seafood at the wheel. In 10th position, so German domination, but it's Lamborghini, BMW, Porsche, Mercedes, Audi is the top 5. Right old mix there as they come to the end of our first flying lap, just coming up into Tiergarten now, Peter.
This is where we might see some of the fastest laps of the day. Now I think a tiny bit of contact between the Phoenix Audi of Frank Stippler and the HRT Bilstein Mercedes of Patrick Assenheimer. I think, Snowy, actually having a little touch there on the Dottinger hole. That's really on the borderline of what you want to see. Not another understatement. Yeah,
you just keep moving. You just keep moving the bar. So Mazda across the line. Right, 7:57.
Wow.
Followed by a 7:58 from Hesse in the M6. These boys are knocking out the pace at the beginning of this. The first flying lap of the race, a 7:57, a sub-8 minute, the top 2. Even third place, Piccarello in the Porsche on an 8-minute dead virtually. Phoenix Racing now, Mr. Stippler was mentioned in 4th place. Mr. Stippler, a 7:59. It's pretty, and again, even the Huber Motorsports, even again at 7:59. So we've got half a dozen cars almost in the 8 or just sub-8 minute category on the first flying lap of the race. They haven't quite caught the rest of this traffic yet, so my prediction was slightly wrong on that one. I think I'm quite sure we got that one last time around, but they will be soon into that traffic, which also this is the chance to get it done now. But what a staggering lap time there from Gmazak. He's had his Weetabix this morning, hasn't he?
Oh my, has he ever? Yeah, Girmazzi. I can tell you what, Franz Conrad's been busy with the Allen key getting that car ready for the start of the race. His pocket Allen key, but to give an impression of that lap time, 7:57. That's very, very close to the qualifying times. I mean, Adam Christodoulou is 7:56.5 in qualifying, and you know it's within a couple of seconds of the pole pace in race conditions. And you know, in one of these SP9 cars, they won't have qualified with that much fuel on board. Of course, they will have full fuel on board at the moment. So that the car. I mean, how does the car behave with that much more fuel on board, Snowy?
Well, obviously, it does behave differently. The big thing, of course, is tyre wear. Weight, and it just grains everything up a bit quick. So you've got to really manage tyre management, and that's the big thing. And to get these stints, and we usually see sort of 6-7 lap stints, and we'll sort of talk to you a bit more about that as it unfolds during this race. We've got a couple. We just had a slow zone upgraded from code 62 at Schwalbenschwanz.
Yeah, but it was yellow flag and very quickly upgraded to a code 60. So
yeah, it's car 140 that's off there at Schwalbenschwanz, which is the SP4T and SP8T class VLN 24 specials. That's the Black Falcon Mercedes-AMG GT4 that's offered to Schwalbenschwanz. I'm not sure whether that's an incident, but it's parked on the left hand. So according to our tracker, it's on the left hand side. Schwabenschwanz being a right hand, then a left, and the left out. It's halfway along on the sort of left hand side by the look of our tracker, and completely stationary. No intervention vehicles getting to it yet. So a 60 zone into a 120 zone into it, then becomes a 60 and clears just on the exit of that. So I'm thinking maybe it's something mechanical for the 140 Black Falcon Mercedes GT4 at the moment.
Well, let's hope it's that rather than an accident, because that is certainly very, very quick down there. And of course, this is something that can also thwart fast lap attempts if that's what the drivers are interested in. Because a slow zone, we saw that in qualifying, that having a slow zone anywhere is enough to really take the take the shine off a lap time. So the leaders, Max Hesse, giving very much hot pursuit to the Lamborghini of Kuba Giermaziak as they hit the first stages of traffic now as well. So this will be, Snowy, this will be constant now throughout the race. There'll be no more rest for the SP9 cars coming through, or indeed for the slower class cars with the big guys coming up behind them.
Well, absolutely, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? They want to get through, and it's we've said time and time again that the track, that the Nurburgring, the Nordschleife, it giveth and it taketh away. And you've got the leading cars coming through. The one thing you want is these leading drivers, or the front-running drivers, pace-wise, in the SP9 cars, is you want everybody else that you come up behind just to stay where they are and take their line. It's their job to get around it. We've repeated it many a time that it's always the faster car's responsibility to get around the slower car, and that you just need, the only compliance you need from a slower car is to stay where they are and take the racing line. Do your thing. You've got as much right to be there on the track, but just stick to it. Don't be kind, don't be considerate, don't get out of the way unless it's really easy. Obviously, dotting a hoe or something, stay one side or something, but just let these go through. Because of course the thing is, it's a great opportunity for these SP9 category drivers, because you've suddenly got a train of them. So for instance, here we've got 5 in a train, and there's the BMW at the back of the train there, just sitting behind one of the Falcon Porsches, and absolutely just proven there as they're coming up towards, I think it's towards Carousel, is it? Costatal, yeah. And they're sitting there behind the traffic, and the BMW just nearly clipped the back of the Falcon Porsche in front. So he jinked left, and the reason he nearly clipped the back was the Porsche was just missing a slower back marker, and he almost misread it, and the BMW had to go back the other way, and it's almost caught it twice. And that's that, you've got to be on your toes so much. You say this, you use the phrase, there's no chance to relax, there's no let up now for the next 3.5 hours.
Just 3.5 hours.
Yeah, 2 Grand Prix.
Frank Stippler is no more Mr. Nice Guy. What a move, coming up out of the exit of Klostertal up towards the Caracciola Carousel. There was a slower BMW up ahead in 3 Series, and Stippler going to the berm basically of the carousel, the actual bank part, and the Falcon Porsche, the 4 Piccarello going to the outside and got completely blocked in. Stippler got by. He'd been in a hurry for a couple of sectors before that, and Frank Stippler is now gone. He has dropped Piccarello almost instantly, and I think Frank Stippler, I wonder if he's maybe playing on his mind of the last race, Snowy, where he definitely gave Dan Harper a little bit of, he kept him under pressure, but kept a kind of safe distance. I feel like he's notched up the aggression today, it seems, already.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Peter.
Not a criticism.
No, not at all. No, I didn't think it was. I think it's a very good point. It's I think we mentioned, didn't we, before to the build-up onto the show, of how Dan Harper soaked up that pressure, but I think Frank Stippler, it was an exercise in seeing what the kid would do. It's almost like that sort of in Top Gun, isn't it, when Viper talks about Maverick saying, damn, he's good, as in testing him, just, okay, he's a kid, let's see what he can do. I'm experienced at this and whatever. They're just coming up to that slow zone, our race leaders, and he sat there and just watched and pushed and pressurised, and I think he'll have learnt an awful lot from that. Of, okay, you're quite right, let's turn the wick up a bit and let's get on with it. It didn't generate a win last time, so they're out for it. And Stippler he was on the front row, wasn't he, of this, and he's languishing in 5th place at the moment. I use languishing advisedly, but in terms of, he was on the on the front row, 2nd position, and it's not converted at the moment. He's had to drop back the order a bit. So we will keep an eye on Mr. Stippler. I am sure we've got lots more to see from him yet. Hesse, it is. that's setting the fastest sector at the moment as he's on his way round. So he's on a bit of a charge. Well, 2 seconds it was the lead, Peter, from the Lamborghini and the BMW across the line on the last lap.
Well, about a 5-second gap then for Stittler to make it up to those leading two, and if he drives like he did on the last lap, well, that could well be done as the number 3 Falcon Tire Porsche of Dennis Olsen drafts by the big Mercedes, the Bilstein HRT Mercedes, on the run up to Tiergarten. They've got a bit of traffic to deal with at the more or less the fastest point of the entire circuit, but Olsen gets the job done. Of course, Dennis Olsen driving for Fricadelli Racing drives for a lot of different Porsche customer teams as a factory driver, but most recently in the run up to the N24 and the N24 itself, driving for Fricadelli, but with Falcon Tire today. So, I mean, Snow, what do you think? I mean, the comparison from going from the Michelin to the Falcon, I understand you might not have driven the two of them directly, but is there going to be much for Dennis to get used to, hopping from one brand of tyre to the other?
Yeah, bound to be. I've not driven the Falcon, no, but a few years ago we ran a couple of cars in FIA GT3 and British GT, and they were the same cars on different tyres, literally Avon on the British and Michelin in the European series, and it was physically the same chassis with quite literally different rims and tyres on it, and it was quite extraordinary. We did back-to-back testing of these, and just the differences to get the data. So yeah, there's a lot to simulate, but it's part of a driver's brief as well. The team, the technicians will brief them, and they will give them a very good heads up as to what's different. So you kind of go out there on the track and to say, it'll do this or it'll do that differently to the other, and they'll go out with, a reserve, a safety net, if you like, in terms of their driving, of feeling that and getting the feel for it. And depending on what it is, I'd say 1 lap normally, 1 or 2, 3 laps normally. Of course, it's the Nordschleife, it's probably, a third of the circuit, and they've got a pretty good idea of it. It's all that recalibrating, as we say, calibrate all the time.
Yeah, and keeping that feel, I guess, as well must be so important. Well, but at the front, the last lap has been pretty kind to Max Hesse, who's really pushed hard, pulled a couple of seconds back out of Kuba Girmasiak in the Lamborghini. But just as they came over the line, the last sector, about 1/4 of a second, but through the Grand Prix circuit and the opening parts of the Hatzenbach and down towards Flugplatz, Girmasiak has just hit the afterburners. It's like, where's he found that pace? Has just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah, but also now we've got into the thick of the traffic a good lap ago now, aren't we? And look at the difference in the lap times. That first flying lap, discount the first lap because it's a rolling start. It was still just over 8:08 something there. The first flying lap was 7:57.2. The top 3 cars, 57, 58 and 59. That's how close they were. Now they're talking 8:18s, 8:16, 8:19. That's the difference in the traffic. Some, 20 odd seconds just because of traffic, and that's going to be the way for a little while now.
And a slow zone as well, of course.
Yes, of course.
Although quite a small one, which is good.
I was just thinking that you're quite right. There was a slow zone. I was discounting, but then again, it was quite a small one. So it's an interesting. But 20 seconds to a driver is a lifetime. It's just put Radio 4 and listen to the Archers.
Put on RS3 and listen to Peter Mackay and Peter Snowden here on the Radio Show Limited network of channels. 3 hours and 32 minutes to go here at the 61st ADAC Rheinolder Langstrecken. And, well, pit stops. Of course, pit stops here at the Nurburgring Snowy are quite unique, to say the least. One thing that it certainly transfers over from the road is the fact that it's pretty much a Tesco supermarket petrol pump. But, of course, the pit stop timings the drivers have got and the teams got a lot to think about there and how they play that one out.
Yeah, where strategy comes into play, doesn't it? We've got our aggregator, which we'll talk about a bit more because it's more relevant the further into the race, isn't it? But yeah, as to what pit stops you do, how soon you stop, and how long your pit stops must be. I think we've got a change of position between the 2 Falcon Motorsport cars. Number 4 getting past its teammate, the number 3. That's the Picarello and Olsen's having good old duking it out there, aren't they?
Yeah, it seemed to me there that the number 4 car driven by Alessio Picarello, the 27-year-old Belgian, has effectively let Dennis Olsen by there. However, straight away, Picarello right back on the engine cover of the rear of Olsen's Porsche. So
now,
maybe the two
Peter,
of them can kind of work together.
change of lead. It looks we've got the Porsches. The BMW's got through. The Max Hesse in the junior team's got was on flying the junior team. I think the Conrad Lamborghini's got a problem. I think the Lamborghini has got a problem. It's slowing. Is it going to be a punch again? The car it is. It's weaving. I think it's a right rear. The car's twitching and weaving already. So it looks as if that Conrad Lamborghini is suffering from a tyre issue again, and it's actually dragging on the track. It's now sparking, so it's something catastrophically wrong in that Lamborghini. I'm hoping that it is only a puncture. The reason being that can be got back to the pits carefully, but it's certainly it's right left rear. It's dragging bodywork and all sorts now, and it's yeah. You and I had exactly the same reaction simultaneously. The Lamborghini keeping to the right-hand side of the track. Fantastic helicam shot from Rover Helicam there. Just illustrating that it's at the carousel at the moment, so it can get back. But it's definitely another puncture issue for that Lamborghini, which is exactly what happened in the last race. They were leading in NLS4, smoking quite heavily from the rear now, where that car is either dragging or the tyre is getting. And it was the same last time. It was the inner sidewall failure, Peter, where the tyre folded. And the big thing is you don't want that to completely delaminate and come out, because that then starts flooding around, and that's what does the damage.
That is just devastating for the leading number 7 Conrad Motorsport Lamborghini of Kuba Gimnaziak. He put the car on pole in fantastic fashion, leading the race, keeping the charging BMW junior team machine of Max Hesse at bay. And then it looked to be pretty sudden there, Snowy. I know we were off camera with the Falcon cars at the time, but it seemed to happen very quickly. So it appeared, we'll get a closer look when the car comes into pit lane, but like you said, hopefully something like a tyre. But if that's the same failure again, you've got to think they'd be scratching their head, because it's not a unique tyre. It's, I believe, a Michelin tyre on that car, which most of the leading cars run on. So you wonder, is it a setup problem with that particular machine?
Well, you'd wonder, wouldn't it? It's sort of, pressures and what they're running, and they'll be advised by Michelin what to do with this, of course, and how to run the tyre. But you wonder if I'm not suggesting that Conrad are doing this, but teams always have their own ideas, and are they trying something different? I'm not karting aspersions, but it's 2 races in a row where that car's had the same issue. But a gift for Max Hesse there, who, by the way, isn't quite 20 yet, for another couple of weeks. I know.
So a teenager in a BMW.
Yeah, silver category driver, and he's not till the 23rd of July. Is he 20? It's infuriating. Makes me feel really old now.
Well, I tell you what, I bet you there's a lot of BMW customer teams who could do with a super duper whooper silver, and Max Hesse definitely fits that bill. What do Conrad Motorsport have to do? They've had so much one-lap pace this entire season at the Nurburgring. Axel Jeffries putting in some incredible performances over 1 lap in the Nurburgring 24-hour week and in the NLS season as well. But this is endurance racing now, Snowy. Particularly here at the Nurburgring, you can't afford to have even the slightest mishap, because there's always going to be plenty of quick cars that are going to have a perfect run. And I'm almost lost for words at the poor fortune that they've had.
Yeah, I mean, you asked the question quite rightly. What can they do to not have tyre failures, whatever's causing it? And that's a very, very easy statement sitting in the luxury of a commentary box.
Yes.
But I'm not casting aspersions or saying they're doing anything wrong, but it's just they need to get to the bottom of what's causing that problem, because it's now becoming a pattern, which is surprising. And Conrad, they're hyper experienced. I've got no issue with that. It's not so. I'm intrigued as to why that Lamborghini just doesn't seem to. I'm suggesting Lamborghini, as in it's that car, doesn't seem to manage its tyres. It's a quirky one. I'd love to have a bit more technical background on that one.
This is definitely some fishing to do overnight. This is the benefit. Well, this is the benefit that we have, is that we can try and find out as much as we can before the race tomorrow. But also for the team, they can get another go at it tomorrow.
Yes, they can, but I mean, I bet there's some head scratching going on there, and I think Mr. Franz Conrad needs to get his magic Allen key out and create some witchcraft over those rear tyres on that Lamborghini, because that's certainly going to be causing them head scratching. 2 events in a row where they've lost the lead, effectively. But it has indeed now put our BMW Junior team, Max Hesse, into the lead in the M6 GT3 car. Frank Stipplet is now back up to where he started, P2 in the Phoenix Racing Audi, and it's a bit of a German whitewash again at the front again. So BMW Audi first 2, Falcon Motorsport, Dennis Olsen and Picarella in 3rd and 4th in cars number 3 and 4, very conveniently, 3rd and 4th. Nice. We can work, that's a commentator's dream. We can do that, can't we? 3rd and 4th, 3 and 4.
I know, nice and simple for us. Yeah,
Patrick Hassenheimer in the Haupt Racing, something about Bill Stein, Mercedes AMG, Krantz in the Valkenhorst BMW. Get Speed, Krantz is in 9th, and 8th is the Lion Speed number 24 car collection, Lion Speed by car collection Audi R8. Huber Motorsport, Siegfried is the Porsche in 9th place, and I was just about to say that Neubauer is our top 10, rounds out our top 10 in the number 35 Valkenhorst Motorsport BMW M6. And that's the first car to pit as well, with 4 laps completed.
Well, Frank Stippler, he really is on a mission this morning. The fastest lap of anybody on that one. Not fastest lap of the race, of course, with the traffic, but 8:03.3 for Frank Stippler last time by. Max Hesse an 8:07, an 8:05 for the leading Falcon car, an 8:10 for Picarello, the second Falcon car, the number 4. So Stippy, he's on the move, and now the gap 5 seconds from Hesse to Frank Stippler. So it's BMW versus Audi, and I'm getting a deja vu here, Snowy. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, just interesting, by the way. I just scrolling my screen a bit further down there, but Valkenhorst pitting both their M6s on the same lap, number 35 and 36, from 10th and 13th.
What do they know?
Exactly
what do they know that we don't?
Oh, I love it when a plan works. Yes, sow the seed and you picked it up. Thank you. I was just saying, what do they know that we don't? Valkenhorst at the wheel of that car now, the number 36 one. That car is now out of the pits. Long pit stop it looks for Neubauer, though, the sister car, number 35 car that pitted from 10th position. That appears to be in the pits still.
Does that maybe indicate that maybe one was not on schedule?
Well, that was my first thinking. I was very surprised at 4 laps in, but there's a driver change. That's why it doubly surprised me then that the number 36 car also came in at exactly the same lap. So you say that then immediately made me start to think, well, what do they know that we don't? That car is out and done already, the number 36 car, with Valkenhorst at the wheel now, but the Neubauer car seems to be in the pit. So I'm just going to have a look at the other side of the screen and just see what that situation, why that car's still in there, or how long it's been in there, which is quite a stop.
So their minimum time that they have to serve, if they pit on lap 4, is 118 seconds. So from pit in to pit out. So if they exceed that, then yes, definitely not on schedule, not on plan, because that's one thing you cannot afford to do, is be over your. You've obviously got to not go under it because you've got a penalty, but that's one of the easiest ways to lose time, is not hit your minimum pit stop time.
Yeah, it certainly is. So it's the number 34 car we were talking about, wasn't it? That was.
Yeah, Neubauer is 35, Walkenhorst BMW. This is now the Conrad Lamborghini back into pit lane as well, and I tell you what, Kuba Garmiziak's done a great job to get that car back without tearing the bodywork apart. They're looking at the suspension quite closely. Franz Conrad in there giving a close look to see what on earth has happened to this machine. And the tyre changer now does the Michelin tyre going on. Okay, so hopefully that means that everything's straight. I mean, what kind of things can you check quickly here, Snowy, in the pit stop for this stricken Lamborghini?
Well, most obvious thing there, so you can see there's quite a bit of the bodywork after that wheel is missing already. The diffuser's damaged, is it not? No, that's all on straight. great camera shot low down for us there, giving up just as we needed it. Diffuser, its fences are all there in place. Obviously, a quick check round. It's two things. It's reactive and proactive. What's happened? What damage has the tyre caused? But what's caused it to do that in the first place? So is it a broken? So if there's been any kind of contact, as a toe link that's broken and caused it, that's really obvious. Okay, not the case in this particular instance. But again, it just. I'm always wary of speculating unless you're around there on the ground and can go and talk to people. But it just does look suspiciously at the moment like a simple tyre failure, as in nothing else has caused that. The tyre has just not held up, and that was only 4 laps in, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we certainly having a lot of stress put through it as the fastest car on the circuit. Now here's a working theory. Oh, we've got an SP9 Audi number 40.
Yeah, front left damage on that. But look at that. Looks more, it's crabbing.
Yeah, and then it doesn't look. Yeah, it does look like it's
bodywork's looking a bit second hand.
Yeah, that's the Car Collection Motorsport, Milan Donche, René Steuer, and Jörg Weiban. That machine. So Nurburgring, but as it always does, fighting.
Indeed, everything it taketh away, and it will continue to do so. And this is part of the appeal of the race. Neubauer still in the pits in that Valkenhorst M6, by the way. But we're going to have an Audi joining that as well. 4 laps completed at the moment. It is Max Hesse in the 19-year-old. Just say that again, slowly. The 19-year-old in the BMW Junior team. That's because he's not old enough to be in the BMW Senior team. That's why. Has to be in the Junior team. It's brand misrepresentation otherwise, isn't it?
Well, Augusto Farfus got special dispensation to drive in the junior team in the N24. He was like the team dad as well. I've been watching the Michael Fassbender Road to Le Mans documentary recently, and Richard Leeds, he's definitely team dad in that line-up with Michael and Felipe Fernandez-Lazar. So,
I love the concept of a 37-year-old being the team dad.
Team dad, I know, but he plays the role of team dad very well. Does Richard Leeds as the platinum driver in that machine. So 5 laps complete then here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife for the 61st ADAC Rheinoldes Langstrecken. Max Hesse leads, and he's stretched the lead back out again from Frank Stippler. So the gap is now 7 seconds when they came over the line, and 8:02.3, 8:02, my goodness, for Max Hesse, 8:04.4 for Stippler, 8:06 for Dennis Olsen in third place. So there's again, it's the BMW Junior team, number 44, and the number 5 Phoenix Audi out at the front once more.
Well, you said it was only a matter of time. I used the phrase languishing, and it wasn't meant to motivate him. I don't think he needs any motivation from us. But what I meant was Frank Stippler, as you said. What was your phrase? It's not his first rodeo. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna make you use that one a lot this weekend, but it is absolutely spot on, because he was second on the grid, and then it just dropped down to, I think it was even 6th or 7th, certainly in that order. It was certainly at least 5th. Got a yellow flags at Starstrecken now, actually, just coming up on the screen. But yeah, Frank Stippler, when we say languishing, it's because they're always up at the front, if not winning. And it was surprising to see that car a little bit further, but a careful first lap, I think, keeping out of trouble. No spinners on the first lap, unlike the last round. We had the Get Speed Mercedes rotating itself around at turn 1. But I think Frank Stippler just used all his years of experience and guile there just on that first lap to keep out of the way. It is galling for a driver to go from P2 to at least to say P5, maybe 6. We thought it was down the order there. And that's where the calmness, where cool head comes in. It's a 4-hour race. You can't win it on the first lap, the first corner, and that's where Frank Stippler's experience played in. And we're talking now 5 laps in, albeit half an hour into this race for us at this place, because it's such a long lap. 5 laps is a lot longer around here than most other places, obviously, goes without saying. But he's back up to P2. And 7 seconds. It's 7.1 seconds, Peter.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so Hesse definitely stretching it there. Now, update for if you're a fan of the Foxtail Manta, and of course you're watching the NLS.
Who
of course
isn't?
you're a fan of the Foxtail. Exactly. You've got a heart of stone, if not. Well, that car is leading in class. And speaking of, well, there is no more experienced driver than Volker Strycek. 134